This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra is perfect for more than just the summer heat this year, because not only is it refreshing and crisp with only 95 calories, but Ultra is also the official beer sponsor of Team USA at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Celebrate every point, race, and moment with Team USA and Michelob Ultra for the Olympic Games Paris 2024. Stock up on Michelob Ultra and cheer on Team USA. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool on a Tuesday the 6th of August, where I am still Trev Downey and not Dave Hendrick. And it appears, lads, as if everything is about to begin. Will we ever learn? The reason for our giddy excitement this morning is a tweet by David Ornstein. Isn't that always the way? His tweet from some 3 hours ago, according to the Twitter machine here, says, Liverpool aim to bolster Arne's slot side by signing new number 6 before summer transfer window shuts. Ornstein as well, using one of those little siren emojis. Nice. He continues, LFC pursuing midfielder not currently playing in the Premier League. Position viewed as a market priority at Anfield. That plus more on other clubs, he says, over on his Athletic byline. So, that's great. That's exciting. That's interesting. And we're all very interested to know who this non-Premier League number 6 is that we're targeting. And of course, the names start to come thick and fast. And we're already now wondering, is it going to be Mr. Alan Varela? Is it going to be Mr. Martin Zubamendi? Who's it going to be? And there are lots of stories going around. We'll talk about those in a second. But it is quite interesting that on the same day, there's another rumour or two coming out from a few different places as well. Our good old pal Indy Kayla has a story about a defender. And that is, of course, very, very interesting to a lot of people as well, because that is the other, I suppose, mostly acknowledged area that we need to sort out, which is the left side of the defence. And AnfieldIndex.com have an article today, report in for €70 million Italian defender, the best left-footed defender in the world, in quotation marks. And it goes on like this, all in the 24 hours when Ornstein suggests an overseas number 6 too. What a time to be alive. Liverpool's recent interest in Inter Milan's Alessandro Bastoni has sparked significant discussions amongst football enthusiasts. The potential acquisition of the talented centre-back could be a game-changer for the Reds. In this blog, we delve into what's been said, the key stats, a comparison with Liverpool's Jarell Quansah, and the likelihood and fee of the transfer. Like I said, this comes from Indy Kayla News. Obviously, we have been linked with Bastoni before, but this is most recently the 10:30 breaking thing. And again, I ask you the question, gentle listener, will we ever learn? But, you know, excitement of course, builds regardless. And Bastoni is someone who would really suit our setup, you'd have to say. What has been said? Well, there's the quote from Indy. And there's also several different analyses then of the Inter financial situation, which would seem to lead you to believe that it might be a good idea for them to move some players on. The article here on AnfieldIndex.com says Inter Milan have recently undergone a significant ownership change. The club was sold due to outstanding debts, which led to new ownership stepping in. The details are crucial as they may influence Bastoni's potential transfer. Suning Holdings Group, Inter's previous owners, struggled with financial difficulties that culminated in Oak Tree Capital Management seizing the club. This transition could make the club more inclined to sell high-value players like Bastoni to balance their books. Some stats about Bastoni. He's 25 years of age. He plays that left-sided centre-back role. He is 1.9 metres tall and has made in the last season 28 appearances, 2,282 minutes, a goal and 4 assists over those. He has 27 international caps and his contract expires on June the 30th, 2028. His current transfer market value, according to Transfer Market, is 70 million euros. We'll come back to market values later on in a non-LFC story that I want to mention before we finish up today, because again, I think sometimes people reach deep down into the arse pocket of their trousers and just pull a thing out when it comes to this stuff. But, you know, that's probably a fair assessment for Bastoni if he is as good as everybody seems to believe him to be. And then the article here goes on to do a comparison with Quansah for reasons. And that's perfectly valid, but I'm not going to get into that particular comparison part because I'm as sure as anyone can be that Jarell Quansah is not going anywhere. I'm also as sure as I've been watching a new player come into the team that Quansah is going to be part of our first team for a long time into the future. I think a lot of the initial doubts have been set to rest, I would think. Quansah, to me, every time I see him, it's like, walk around him, lads, you know. He just looks like the real deal to me. There is a little tweet here from our mutual pal Dave, who says Bastoni is the absolute dream addition to play left back and eventually take over from Virgil. He is the best left-footed defender in the world. High praise indeed from young Hendrik for Bastoni, and if this is a thing that could happen, it would be wonderful indeed. It's nice to see that everything's happening all at once, and it's nice to see that it's happening when it was predicted that it would. Now, there are 24 days left in this transfer market, so of course it was going to have to happen now because nothing had happened beforehand, and there are lots and lots of lads who are going to have to go out the door in terms of permanent or loan deals, and those things will be as important to the people trying to balance the books as the incomings. But this is what gets us excited, if we're being perfectly honest. I don't really want to hear about how it makes perfect financial sense to do this, that and the other in terms of outgoings, and I don't really want to hear about the boring details of amortization. Personally, it's a personal thing. What I want to hear about is the great new footballer that we're getting, and I try to be honest about that. It's not that I don't understand this stuff, it's just I don't care in any way, shape or form about it. Let's go to another story that's related to this in a way, because if you go to News Now, which I often do, I used to as my go-to for my column when I was writing on a regular basis, and News Now Liverpool has pretty much everything gathered together in one spot, and it is quite interesting to see that the headlines are giddy and constant, and of course it's one or two people putting out big links, and all of a sudden it's Yeah, we're off to the races in terms of the headlines. I want to just have a look at a few of the top ones here, because if we are honest, we'd often be wondering why it is that one story gets preferred and another doesn't, and why it is we get all high on one and we don't get all high on another. So if we go to This Is Anfield for their take on this, it will obviously be inspired by the Ornstein quote as well. But on This Is Anfield, it says that Liverpool are now said to be pursuing a specialist number 6, with that player being from outside the Premier League. It has, of course, been the topic of the summer again, and so far there have been few credible links to defensive midfielders. Okay, so far so correct. Now, we go on and we hear some of the usual names that we had been hearing. Players such as Porto's Alan Varela have been somewhat linked, along with Ederson of Atalanta. But beyond that, the links have been few and far between. Now, in a rare update, the highly reliable reporter David Ornstein of the Atleti reports that the club are actively pursuing an unnamed player who is based outside of the Premier League. It's the specificity of that that I suppose has everybody giddy, but let's be honest, think of all the names we were linked with. They were all outside the Premier League anyway. It's not like this is new news. There are very few specialist number 6 types within the Premier League that we could either afford or be interested in. So it's not new news. It's just perhaps clever pointing out of the obvious in just such an important time in which things were going to happen anyway. You could be that cynical if you wanted to analyse Ornstein's tweet in that regard. But we are led to believe that he does have some in-the-know stuff going on, so let's take that for what it is. It goes on here, this article, say that means that Varela and Ederson would tick the box of the outside the Premier League one. But it would rule out Wolves' João Gomez, who has been also loosely linked, and I think that's not going to break too many hearts. What has been apparent in these opening friendlies under the new coach is that Arne Slot's style of midfield doesn't appear to suit or require a number 6 who simply breaks up the play. The player is required to be on the ball more and more effective in the build-up play. Here's some quotes from Slot, and we've read these before, but it just gives us a little bit of a take on it now. On the position, Slot told reporters, Ryan did really well in that position. That was against United. And we have other options as well. The best way to judge it is when we have all the players back, and we still haven't. But a club like Liverpool always keeps its eye open to see what's available. Now, I know I read these quotes yesterday, but again, it's in the context of something now being at least rumoured to be real. And he goes on to talk about the bar being high for new signings because we have so many good players. It's not easy to find a player and meet those standards, and then ask, is he available? Then he goes on to talk about having to find an agreement with them. And yesterday I was quite cynical about that and a little bit miffed actually by those quotes, because like I say, it felt a little bit condescending. I mean, we know all that. And to not acknowledge that it's a real need for us, it's getting tiresome. It's getting incredibly tiresome to be spoken down to in that regard by whoever it happens to be, whether it's Klopp or Slot or Hughes or Edwards, whoever it happens to be that's actually doing the talking. I'm kind of sick of it. I'm kind of sick of being spoken to in that way, as if we haven't a freaking clue what's needed in this team, as if we're just like as a famous moment from my past when I was playing GAA football for my local team. I think it was under 14 or under 16, and we were trying to work out what was going wrong at half time, and one of the completely useless mentors of the team cut across a conversation between myself and another fella when we were trying to work out how to get the better of this half forward that was raiding down the flank. And he said, use our only the players. Shut up, basically. Use our only the players. I think that's how I feel about this. It's like, you're only the fans, go, run along. We'll deal with the business. And whereas I think an awful lot of people like the idea that the club does things quickly, quietly, and without giving it too much platform, and sort of indicating in advance what it is we're going to do. I'm a fan of that myself. I just don't like that tone. I don't know what it is. It just rubs me the wrong way. Anyway, that was This Is Anfield talking about the potential for the number 6. We've already touched on the Bastoni thing. These are all interesting Liverpool-related stories. And, you know, it as we go through, it's every headline I'm seeing has something along the lines of Ornstein's tweet has, you know, been the catalyst for it. And I'm kind of reluctant to keep clicking on these because it's just going to be still recycling the same thing because nobody has any information outside of that. So whereas it's tempting to waffle on ad infinitum about things that have been suggested or hopes that we all have and dreams that we all have. Dave often touches on that subject here. I prefer not to. Let's just talk about what is actually happening elsewhere, and we can work our way back to Liverpool. The only other thing I would mention is there was a specific link to Martin Zubimendi by a couple of people as well, as sort of we've been talking to his people type of story doing the rounds. Believe what you will at this stage. I can't magic up any proof for you. But, you know, again, that's another very highly rated player that a lot of people will be very delighted to see wearing the Liverpool kit in the season to come. So we will take today for what it is, a sort of a little bit of giddy excitement at the idea that, hey, maybe things are about to start happening because for the love of God, we've been waiting long enough. And it would be nice if they did. Just to be clear, later on we're going to be doing a transfer podcast, myself and Dave Davis. And of course we're going to be touching on this. But you remember yesterday on the show we were talking about the potential prices for all the different outgoing players and the likelihood of who they would be. And we have, you know, we'll definitely be discussing the 15 million or so that Southampton had offered for Fabio Carvalho. The Bobby Clark bid from Pep and Linder's club. I think the £12 million, I think, is what we're looking for there, but would probably prefer to loan the player. There's also a bit of bonus cash, I think, if Solanke moves on to Spurs from Bournemouth. And like I mentioned yesterday, there is this ongoing story about the young South American defender Soler, which kind of won't go away. So perhaps there is something to that as well. These are the stories, the Liverpool-related stories we'll be talking about in a bit more detail. And Dave usually has some extra bits for us because he does really go around, as he says himself, harassing and haranguing all his contacts and has a couple of really decent sources. So look forward to doing that later on, but we'll leave this speculation for that show because honestly that's all it would be from me at this point without the extra info that Dave might have on the show itself. What I'm very interested in is what's going on elsewhere because we've had this story today which I found really, really difficult to get my head around, which is the official deal between Atletico and City for Alvarez. And it's some 95 million euros or 81.5 million British pounds. I saw the fee and the guy's only 24.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
If you listen to this show, you'll know how highly our mutual friend rates Alvarez and how he was actually of the opinion that Alvarez would be a great fit for us. So yes, I guess in the world of crazy fees, but it does seem quite crazy indeed, or quite high. And so I wondered, but of course there is the potential for João Felix coming back the other way. Apparently as either a loan, well, a loan is what I've heard, what seems to be coming out via Sky Sports and other places like that. So that's interesting because we have all these rumours of things starting to happen. Well, there's a big thing that is actually happening at City. Like I said, something about the fee sort of jarred a bit with me. I don't know what to make of it. It just, I think everything to do with them gives me sort of spidey sense tingles at this stage. So I could be overstimulated when it comes to being suspicious of City's activity. I assume if Atleti are involved, that it's, you know, it's going to work out for them. They have spent big money in the past, that club, on players like the aforementioned Felix. So I guess it's possibly something they're happy to do every so often if they feel it's right, and they probably have their own rationale behind it. But it's not just City. What I found very interesting was the Chelsea angle on this as well, because apparently Chelsea are looking to do a bit of business with Atleti too, and there was links of Conor Gallagher heading off to them. I'm not sure how far down the line that is. I can't find anything, but it does seem as if Gallagher's sort of been forced out in a way, because it just suits them. They have bits that they need to do. And, you know, our pal Fabrizio Romano, another story about him in a second, he's tweeted about 10 hours ago, why do Chelsea keep selling academy players like Gallagher? And then there's a quote from Maresca, their new manager, saying, it's not Chelsea problem, it's the rules problem. The clubs are compelled to sell players because of the rules. It's not a Chelsea problem, it's a Premier League problem. I mean, that is quite stunning. You know, I understand that we all get a bit one-eyed when it comes to our own clubs, and we get entrenched and it's us against the world. But that's quite spectacular levels of lack of awareness there from Maresca, and it might suggest why Maresca is the manager. I'm not casting aspersions on him, but it might suggest why he, as opposed to some massive name who Chelsea could clearly afford, is the manager there. As Steve says on Twitter, they need pure profit because the owners are running the ship like Championship Manager 2000. I mean, I actually, Steve goes on to say, Steve Smith from Anfield Index goes on to say, this is why no elite manager will touch them, because it's a circus. And he reckons that Colwell and James will have to be sold next summer regardless of how they play. And, I think that's probably the way to look at that one. It's interesting. Like I say, I get a bit frustrated at how we can talk for hours about rules and regulations, and we can be as endlessly smug as we want about how Liverpool are rules followers and we do the right thing and our club is run the right way. And if that keeps you warm at night, then that's fine, and I do understand it. It's like I'm not an evil person. I get it. It just doesn't do the same for me as it seems to do for so many, because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you for why. It's because when you see these other clubs who breach rules left, right and centre, most of them, the punishment isn't too bad. And I just have a feeling that, you can do what you like. And if you have enough money behind you, you just pay those lawyers and get yourself saddled with some heavy fines. You pay those fines. It's the cost of doing business, and you move on. And why it would be different in football than it would be in any other major industry across the world, I don't understand why people are so naive as to expect that it would be different in football. Because there are rules there, you see. There are rules in business as well that are breached regularly. And when they're found to be breached, companies pay fines. And like I say, it's the cost of doing business. I don't know. There's something about the cynicism of it all that just I find quite dispiriting, and have done for a while. It's a sort of ongoing disillusionment with the greater scheme of things, and so I can't get the same buzz out of doing the right thing, because it feels like, well, you're doing the right thing, but what's the point? Because you could have got away with doing the wrong thing, and there's only so much moral satisfaction I can take from that. I'm not suggesting Liverpool do things the wrong way, and that's not what I'm saying at all. Hopefully that's clear. What I'm saying is it's just very dispiriting that you do behave in the correct fashion, you run your business in the right way, and regardless, those who cheat are allowed to prosper in one way or another. So it just seems a little bit infuriating to me, but then that's just me. I'm old and grumpy, so pay no mind. There was one thing I wanted to mention there before we move on, because like I said, that came from a tweet by the world-renowned journalist Fabrizio Romano, who is such a world-renowned journalist that he has taken to doing little pieces about people's weddings and using his fucking catchphrases to exacerbate the joy of the couple as they are told, "Here we go," on their wedding day. If that doesn't sum up why we should not be too excited about an awful lot of the stuff we hear, whatever you think about taking an Ornstein tweet seriously, and you do that at your own peril, by the way, you do. If you are taking a Fabrizio Romano tweet seriously, you're really making yourself a hostage to fortune. You really are. You're really just sort of putting yourself out there on a needlessly sort of shaky limb of a tree. And when you fall on your head, it's kind of on you, I would have thought. So look, that's that. Interesting stuff going on around the place, but I want to finish today with a very interesting article, which is on, where was it? Where did I see it? I think it's on This Is Anfield. Yes, it is on This Is Anfield. And I wanted to finish on this, something that's entirely opinion based, and it's Liverpool's 10 most skillful players ever. This is Adam Beattie on This Is Anfield. Liverpool's 10 most skillful players ever. So I think we should have a look at this list. Dave loves a list. I love a list. Everyone loves a list. And what we can do is we can get a little bit of annoyance and irritation and debate going, why not, about something that's not to do with transfers for once. He goes down through the list. His list is really genuinely excellent. And the way he prefaces it is, even in times of hardship, Anfield's continued to witness sprinklings of greatness ever since the Reds moved into their rightful home in 1892. Favourites have included the likes of Steven Gerrard and Ian Rush, but who have been the very best from a purely technical perspective? Now, I'm reading this list live. I have not scrolled down. I prefer to do this kind of stuff live. I do this in my own daily profession as well. We'll come across new material. I prefer to experience it myself, the same as the students, for the first time. I think it's more engaging in that way. So here we take a look at some of the most skillful players ever to wear the shirt. I think the way that sentence was framed, can we expect Steven Gerrard and Ian Rush to not feature on this list? I think that's probably what we should take from that. His first one, I don't think they're necessarily numbered here, is Stevie Highway. One of the greatest ever wingers, Highway made a name for himself at Anfield with his swashbuckling style, attacking prowess. He goes on to say he features prominently in one of Anfield's greatest terrace tunes. He does indeed. And his name will forever be etched in Liverpool folklore for a number of different reasons, but his exceptional control and precision were among the facets that brought him to the table in the first place. Hard to argue with Stevie Highway. Sadio Mane is next. Perhaps the very best winger in the traditional sense that Liverpool have had in the modern era. Mane was an electric part of the side that won every trophy under Jurgen Klopp, picking up the club's Player of the Season award in his debut year and never looking back. His first touch, his pace, intricate footwork made him borderline unplayable for Premier League fullbacks. And it talks about specifically the historic 2018-19, where he was joint winner of the Premier League Golden Boot. Mane's opening goal away at Bayern Munich during that same campaign stands out as one of the easiest on the eye you're ever likely to see, as he turned one of the best goalkeepers on the planet inside out in the process. Now, I think both of these will have their yeses and nos from people who are listening. Mane will divide people because people have seen Mane in different ways. I like this call because for me, in this modern era, there was a long period of time where I think pound for pound, he was our most important player. And I think the fall off in his last couple of months was quite pronounced, and people were maybe influenced by that. But Sadio Mane, at his best for Liverpool, that's a good word there, quite unplayable. Steve McManaman is next, and I know this will please young Hendrick because he's a massive McManaman fan. Might well be Dave's favourite player, I think, from what I've listened to in the past. Talks about how Maka was an archetypal winger with an eye for goal, netting 66 times for the Reds in all competitions, including a brace during the man of the match performance against Bolton in the League Cup final in 95. And he went on to become an important player in the team of Galacticos at Real Madrid. This is what's always worth mentioning about McManaman, is that at the time, I remember thinking that he was just such an amazing footballer. I remember thinking that I couldn't understand how he could keep going in the face of all these yard dogs trying to hack him over, because he was so slight. But the skill and the pace was just wonderful to watch. His ball retention at speed was wonderful to watch. And then he could go on and step into that Real Madrid sort of heady atmosphere and win European Cups in that squad. It tells you all you need to know about McManaman as a footballer. And yeah, I think there was a dark period, let's be honest, where Liverpool were sort of out of the limelight, and McManaman was one of the few things that kept us going. His next shout is another one that will be controversial for people who don't understand Liverpool history or haven't seen the player, either or. I'm in that latter category. Peter Thompson is the shout. Thompson was destined to become a top player from the moment he signed his first professional contract with Preston. He was brought to Anfield by Shankly, who also played for Preston at one point, and immediately caught the eye with his trickery and pinpoint crossing. He was one of the most polished wide men to ever pull on a Liverpool shirt, but a series of knee injuries later down the line ultimately curtailed an otherwise stellar Anfield career. Now again, I need to have seen Peter Thompson, and I've only seen bits and pieces on compilation videos that I would have had as a kid, and it's not enough for me to have him included in this. But this is someone putting together a list based, I guess, on multiple feedbacks. At least I would imagine that's the case. And who am I to argue with someone who saw Peter Thompson and reckons he was top 10 of all time? I just didn't have that pleasure. Roberto Firmino is next on the list, and he's got to be there, doesn't he? I mean, he's just got to be there. There was some discussion about the greats of the Klopp era recently that left out Bobby Firmino, and he's the archetypal Klopp player. I don't understand how you can have anything resembling a discussion around the Klopp era without having Firmino at the very, very pinnacle of that. He talks about how here he won the lot, looked effortlessly cool while doing it, the facilitator of two of our best ever goal scoring wide men. Yeah, you see those golden boot seasons for Sadio and Mo. Bobby's very much involved in that. And of course, he was a good man for a big goal and a big occasion. Club World Cup. He won that trophy for us with his goal there. He may not have been as prolific as his counterparts in that world famous front three, but he will arguably goes down as the most popular of that all-conquering side. And that's, again, we're not talking about goal scoring here. We're talking about skill. And if your top 10 doesn't include Bobby Firmino, I might need to have a chat with you. John Barnes is next, of course he is. What we wouldn't give to have Johnny Barnes in this Liverpool team today. It says Digger spent 10 seasons on Merseyside predominantly as a left winger before moving central in his later years, and possessed a deadly combination of a magnificent football brain and lightning quick feet. John Barnes is a person I did get to see his entire career at Liverpool, and he is second only to Kenny Dalglish in my personal pantheon of all-time Liverpool greats, because that's the era when I was a kid. And this guy was magic. He was magical to watch. Just the very, very best at what he did in the world at the time. And it's just a shame that never translated into his England career for him. Personally, I'm delighted it didn't. What a footballer is the first sentence of the next person in the category. And it is, of course, Thiago. Possibly the best we've ever bought in Premier League era times. Thiago, look, I'm not even going to read the rest of this. You don't need to hear the rest of this. I'm just going to reiterate what I've always said about Thiago. I got absolutely down the glen several times for suggesting that Thiago could be in the same conversation as Steven Gerrard. And the only reason I ever suggested that is because Thiago at his very best would always be in that conversation. I'm not saying he's better than Gerrard. I'm saying that in an all-time Liverpool 11, if we'd had Thiago playing at his very best, nobody would be questioning that. The guy did things with a football that I have never seen. And genuinely, I've never seen another player do. The way in which he could manipulate the ball on the half turn, the way in which he could put a certain amount of spin or backspin or loft on a pass. He was a magical footballer. And the tragedy of Thiago's career at Anfield is that it was so curtailed. And we have 3 left. You will not be surprised when you hear the 3 names. Next up is Kenny Dalglish. And I don't have to say anything about Kenny. Kenny, again, like Barnes, is my era. Well, he's not really, I'll be honest. He's not really. I got late era Dalglish, and that late era Dalglish was enough for me to think that's the best player in the world right there. Dalglish 82, 83, up as far as 84 and 85. I didn't see anyone better. Anytime I saw him playing football, I could not see or think of a player that was better. And I understand that there were great players in the world at the time. Yes, Platini. Yes, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, who won awards ahead of him. The Rummenigge one I could never get. Could never get that. And not ahead of Kenny. No, just not having it. Platini was awesome. People like Boniek, amazing footballers at the time. And of course, the emergent Maradona. But Kenny Dalglish was just on a different plane to most footballers. We're talking about vision. We're talking about the ability to execute a pass. He could roll a player. He'd just stick out that arse of his and spin you around, and he could use left or right foot, dink it, drive it, loft it, lob it, dink it, chip it. All those things. I think I've used dink there at least 5 times, because if you think of Kenny, you think of the winner in 1978 in the European Cup final, and that's a dink for the ages. Second last person on the list will please a lot of you, Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, he says here, is a player the only player I can think of who was so good he would make you laugh on a regular basis. Now I have to say that's a really good phrase. That's good writing right there, because that's exactly what it did. You would watch Luis Suarez and you would giggle, because you would think, how's he done that? How has he done that? And I know that an awful lot of people have Suarez up there in their very, very top. 1 or 2 people I know who consider him the most skillful player that they've ever seen. I'm not going to argue with that. They probably maybe didn't get to see Kenny or Barnesy like I did as a nipper, as regularly, regularly, match of the day, as I did. Perhaps that's it. But Suarez is right up there, and I could understand. I listened to absolutely discussion to be had where you put Luis Suarez against anyone, because that's how good that guy was at that point in his career. Just sort of an absolute phenom of a footballer. Swashbuckling was a word used earlier on to describe our pal on the wing, Stevie Highway. I think that's a good word to describe Luis Suarez. And like the author says here, could just make you burst out laughing with how great it was. Think about that goal against Newcastle, where the ball is bombed forward from our left back, and he controls and takes it around the keeper and taps into the back of the net in one sort of flowing movement nobody had a right to do. Incredible footballer. Last on the list is another one of these that I never got to see, but anyone who knows anything about Liverpool knows about Billy Liddell. And Liddell's status in the history of the club is so high that you have to just go, okay, he's one of only 4 people, as it says here, ahead of Mohamed Salah on the club's list of all-time goal scorers. So good, it says that he earned the team the affectionate nickname of Littlepool. And if the club is being named after you in that sort of one-man team sort of suggestion, that's quite the honour indeed. He played 534 times for Liverpool, amassing a huge amount of goals in that era, and is a Liverpool icon in every sense of the word, as it says. And again, look, I've seen clips, but I would be totally open to people not including Billy Liddell on this, simply because they haven't the awareness of him. I'll admit that I'm one of those. I've only seen video stuff, and some of the video stuff is quite amazing. But when you've had the visceral thrill of watching Luis Suarez do a thing live as you're viewing it again and again and again, like I had that pleasure with Digger Barnes and with Kenny Dalglish, amongst others, Peter Beardsley, it's a different thing, and you imprint on people differently. So this is a list that will cause some debate. It's interesting, an interesting topic, and it's about time I wrapped it up. I've rambled on for 40 minutes. Hendrik could be proud of me, I'd say. I just lost track of time there. Sorry about that. But I just, it's nice. It's nice to get away from the transfer nonsense and get into a topic that is very, very concrete indeed, like who are the best or most skillful, in this case, Liverpool players of all time. I'm going to leave it at that. You have a vast array of stuff coming out from AnfieldIndex.com in terms of articles. And again, there will be podcasts aplenty. Hopefully, a few emergency breaking pods to describe the new arrivals over the next while. I'll leave it at that. Good luck.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.